All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. So the Joe Rogan Spotify controversy continues as Spotify removes a whole bunch of podcasts that Rogan did where apparently he used a racial slur. Now, I will say this about the racial slur. Oftentimes I'm at a stoplight, when the weather is nice, the windows might be rolled down, and wafting through the air are racial slurs. And I'm just wondering, how come that car is allowed to drive down the road blaring music that has racial slurs in it? Just, context is everything, right? So Rogan obviously doesn't have the melanin content, enough of it to be able to do this sort of thing. What's happening over at Spotify, according to Variety and a couple of other publications, is they're looking to take about a 19% hit on subscriptions. So Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, David Crosby, I think there's a list of artists that decided to take a stand for freedom of speech. No, they took a stand against freedom of speech. They keep calling it medical dis and misinformation. Okay, so Rogan, right, has done so many different topics, but this one in particular, because it strikes at the heart of the government narrative. As soon as the government narrative collapses, I don't think they have much left. All right. It's already getting like thin ice out there. You can tell there's a few cracks in the ice, and people are saying things that they shouldn't talk about. They did a big story on the Canadian truckers. They just had to. They had to. They're shutting down cities. Of course, they're calling them occupiers, right? But remember when they did that Chaz Chop thing up in Seattle? They didn't call that an occupation. They called it like a new part that was not America anymore. It was its own region, which maybe the truckers should declare portions of Canada like Truckerville, and then it won't be called an occupation because it'll be their own territory. And of course, the police all backed away from the stuff that went on in Seattle and actually helped it and facilitated it and brought the truckers food, brought the protesters food. Whereas, and they weren't necessarily protesters. They were some people that were completely unhinged and crazy. But the truckers who are in freezing cold weather, they're actually taking their food away, okay? Because if we can starve them and we can make them really cold, then maybe they'll pack up and take off, right? So anyway, the artists or the people who have decided to pull their content off of Spotify are Joni Mitchell, India R.A., or Ari, I don't know who that is, Roxanne Gay, Mary Trump. Wow. That's the black sheep of the Trump family. David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash. Oh, I may have used a slur there describing Mary Trump, and I apologize in advance. She is a white sheep of the Trump family. About 19% of Spotify users are scheduled to abandon the streamer. Now, I am currently subscribed to Spotify. They gave me a good deal a few months back, and I think I accepted it because it was like 3 months for the price of one. So I'm like, sure, why not? And I do use it. I have some playlists over there, although maybe those playlists have been corrupted because I might have had some Joni Mitchell or some Neil Young in a couple of them. Not sure. I don't know. Look, there are other ways to get music. And based on the article here from Variety, it appears that most of these subscribers will eventually come back. They cite what happened with Netflix and Dave Chappelle. Then there was the cuties thing that happened, which was really disgusting, by the way. And I think that actually made me leave Netflix, and I haven't come back. So yeah, there are things that might be, nasty enough where you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to support that platform. Of course, then they're going to have some documentary or some movie that you want to watch, and they just have one thing that you want to see. So you have to subscribe and pay the 20 something bucks to see that one thing. And then you'll probably ditch the whole platform, in a month. But they get their money for a month, and then I'm sure they have to figure out what else. Like the Beatles documentary, I forget which platform that was on, but I subscribed just so I could watch the Beatles documentary. I didn't really watch anything else on that platform, and I think I canceled it as soon as I realized I wasn't going to watch anything else. So, the impact of these rock artists doing this isn't really smart for them to do it. I mean, all they have to do is basically call out Joe Rogan day after day. And now the media has that ball, and they're just pushing the ball downfield. And, maybe it makes for some good interviews with some aging rock stars. You can find out if they're ever going to record again with CSN and CSNY. Are they finally going to reunite, even though David Crosby thinks that Neil Young is the most selfish person he's ever met? Another video on that topic recently, I think from Jimmy Dore or one of those people. And I'm laughing because it was already a super weird and strained relationship. And maybe this is the catalyst, like I said, to get them all back together again. I did a video saying that, and then funny, a rock publication ran almost the same headline into the story about how this was the topic that would get these boys back together again. And maybe they'll record some new rebellious music about hating free speech, about censorship. They can do a few songs about censorship to counter, like Van Morrison and his views on where have all the rebels gone. Of course, these are the rebels for the totalitarian, easy for me to say, takeover of the country, if not the world. So there you have it, folks. Another day in paradise where, boycotts and controversy, it just never ends, because you know what? People do like freedom. And if enough people stand up, these mandates will go away. Those Canadian truckers, God bless them. It's weird because you had Joni Mitchell, Neil Young from Canada, and then you had the Canadian truckers. So it doesn't really matter where you're from. It's all about what you believe in and what you know to be true. And those Canadian truckers, somebody should write a song for the Canadian truckers, one of those blue collar Canadian rock bands. I mean, perfect time for a BTO reunion, right? Yeah. But then, they'll have the wrath of Justin Trudeau upon them, and they'll be called every name in the book. So they probably aren't going to do it. Anyway, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon.